Shalom Aleichem and welcome. Welcome to Machin Leira Online Smicha. We are close to the Yontif of Sukkot, so I want to, and we're learning that in Choshen Mishpat halachas of damages. So I'd like to share with you an interesting machloikis poskim about a damage a person does, and the question is, how much should be paid? The Shailos Teshuvas Maram Mintz, Simin Kuf Yud Gimel, he discusses a shayla like this. Reuven bought himself a very beautiful esrog. And for esrog, today's age, you could either pay $50, $60. You could pay $200, $300, $400 for esrog. Reuven was mahader in the mitzvah, and he paid, let's say he paid $300, $400 for an esrog. Shimon came and used it, and either he disqualified the esrog, made the esrog puzzle, or something happened to it, and now the esrog is not as good as it was, and it's not kosher. So he has to pay him for a replacement. So Reuven says, my esrog was a $350 esrog. Go get me another beautiful $350 esrog. That's what I paid. Because I invest in the Hiddur mitzvah. And Shimon says, I'll give you back an esrog. You need an esrog to fulfill the mitzvah. I could get you a $50 esrog, and the mitzvah will be fulfilled just as good. Okay, so the question is, does he have to, he's giving him back an esrog. An esrog is an esrog. And even the $50 esrog, you could be mekayim the mitzvah. Does he have to pay him $350? Does he have to give him a $350 esrog, or could he pay him with a $50 esrog? This is the question that was discussed in Shalos and Shuvas Maram Mintz, Simin Kuf Yud Gimel. And the Maram Mintz answered that the mazik is correct. He could say, listen, I'm going to give you money. You need an esrog? I ruined your possibility to do a mitzvah. I'm going to give you an esrog. But I'll give you whatever I find, whatever, $50 you could buy an esrog that's kosher. I don't have to necessarily give you your esrog. That amount of money that you want is not a tangible damage. And the Maram Mintz brings a raya from the Gemara in Baba Kama. The Gemara in Baba Kama Daf Ayin Ches Amud Beis says, what happens if somebody makes a pledge? Somebody pledges to the Beis Hamikdash that he's giving a carbon oila. Okay? Carbon oila could be in many forms. But he was a real goody-goody. He dedicated for the oila, he set aside a shur, an ox, a big animal. Somebody came along and stole the animal. Okay, now there's a dilemma. What's the dilemma? The guy stole the animal is gone, and he has to replace what he took from him. But what did he take from him? From one hand, he took an animal. An animal could be worth $1,000. From the other hand, he took away an oila. And the oila doesn't necessarily have to be a bull. You can make an oila with a smaller sheep. You could even possibly, according to some opinions, make an oila with a bird. So if I steal something from you, and I'm replacing what your pledge was, an oila, I give back, instead of a bull, I'll give you a bird and fulfill your commitment. Because an oila could be with a bird too. And the Gemara says that if you stole a bull that was dedicated for an oila, you could replace it with the shepsela, because you're giving him back enough to fulfill his commitment. So the same thing says the Maram Mintz, as long as you give him back something that he could buy an esrog that's kosher, you don't necessarily have to give him an esrog that was $500 worth. Now that's the Maram Mintz's opinion. The Mishnah Lamelech, in Hilchas Ma'isa HaKarbonis, Perek Tazayin Halacha Zayin, he also brings this discussion, and he also brings the comparison to the case of the oila. However, he says it's not really a good comparison, because there's a difference between the animal of the oila and over there you say that if I have to replace it, I can replace it with anything, versus our case where you're replacing an esrog. What's the difference between the two? What happens if the guy who has the bull dedicated for the oila decides, you know what? Why am I giving a bull? I could give away something else, so I'm going to go sell the bull now. And I'll sell it for $1,000, and I'll replace it with a bird. I'll replace it with a shepsela. The din is he can't. Why can't he do that? Because once he dedicated a bull for the oila, it has to be delivered as an oila, right? So if so, in reality, what that means that it's not necessarily that when you take away, when somebody steals the bull, he's stealing a bull. He's stealing the commitment, the oila. So the minute you're able to replace it with another thing, you covered the commitment. But over here, if you have a very expensive esrog, and you see there's somebody else that would love to have your esrog, are you allowed to turn around and sell your esrog? You're allowed to sell your esrog. So your esrog has a monetary value to it. The bull has no monetary value to it. So because it has no value, it's only the commitment. And if it's only the commitment, replace the commitment with another item. But the esrog still has a monetary value. Why does it have a monetary value? Because at any time, you could turn around and sell it. And if you were to sell their expensive esrog, you're going to get a customer to buy it for $400 or $500 for at least the money you paid. So if he ruins it for you, he didn't only ruin your mitzvah, he ruined your monetary loss that you had in possession, something that was worth money. So this is the big machlokes between the Maram Mintz, who says he can pay him back with a regular esrog, a $50 esrog, and the Mishnah Lamelech, who says he can't. The Chacham Tzvi in Siman Kuf Chaf also says this. And he also disagrees with the comparison to the carbon, and he leans to that if you ruin an esrog that's very expensive, you have to pay the value of what the esrog would have been worth. You can't give a low cheap esrog. And he says, "Ubarer be'enai," it's clear by me that somebody who grabs away an esrog that somebody paid big bucks, you have to pay mishalim loy kvi mashu shava limocher l'shem mitzvahs pri hadar. He has to pay for whatever it would be worth as a mitzvahs pri hadar. And if the people would pay $200, $300, $400 for that, he has to pay him the full price. So the Chacham Tzvi also disagrees with the Maram Mintz. The Chacham Tzvi leans with the opinion of the Lechem Mishnah, you have to pay full price. The Chacham Tzvi says this, Shiloh Setshuvah Shvus Yaakov says this, and many people, many other poskim. The Stei Chemed, Mareches Alamid, Klal, Kama, Sifkat and Chavches, talks about this in length, brings all the opinions, and the bottom line, what we find, it seems to be that most of the poskim agree with the Chacham Tzvi that because the esrog throughout the whole Yom Tov has a monetary value, it's not like the behemoth that you can't sell. So therefore, anybody who steals it or ruins it has to pay whatever loss the guy has for the value of the esrog. If he could have turned it around and sold it at $400, you have to pay for that, and he cannot give him a cheap esrog. So there are some other similar shilas to this. Reb Moshe Stern, in his Shiloh Setshuvas Be'er Meisha, Chele Gimel Siman Kuf Hey, brings a similar shilah. What would be the din if somebody, today's days, people are bidding for aliyahs. You bid, so many people buy themselves the honor of the aliyahs. Some people buy aliyahs and give others the honor. Now, if somebody honors you with a kibud, the custom is you reciprocate. You buy something for him. Imagine somebody bought for you maftir yoina, and for maftir yoina he paid $20,000. Okay, and now you want to reciprocate and give him something back. Do you have to reciprocate with buying him something big, the Aseres Adibras, the Shira, Or could you just buy him a regular shlishi? Or do we say, in other words, how do we reciprocate? Do you give him something because it's an honor, or you do have to do it at the value of what he gave? And he too says that just because he bought you mafter yoina, you don't have to do it at his level. You just have to honor him with something, and that's good enough. In Shailos Teshuvas Torah Lishma, Siman Shin Nun Dalid, he speaks about a case where somebody accidentally, whatever, ruined a Sefer Torah that was very, very expensive. So you want to replace the Sefer Torah. Do you have to replace it with $100,000 Sefer Torah? Or could you give a kosher Sefer Torah? Could you replace it with a kosher Sefer Torah? These are all different questions that come about. Another question is somebody used somebody's tefillin, and that person's tefillin was a very high-class tefillin, which cost $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a pair, and you ruined it. Now you want to replace it, but you could give him a kosher pair of tefillin for $1,000. Do you have to replace the mitzvah with however you can fulfill the mitzvah, or does the replacement have to be at the value of what it was originally? The same is we find by matzah. If somebody bought expensive matzah, let's say a pound of matzah is $30, but if you buy matzah Erev Pesach, you're going to pay 10 times the amount for the Erev Pesach matzah. So you ruined somebody's Erev Pesach matzahs. Do you have to give him the value of an Erev Pesach matzah, or just replace it with giving him kosher matzah? So the same thing, these are all issues that are discussed, that it depends who you hold like. Do you hold like the Chacham Tzvi, that as long as you replace it with something kosher, you gave him back his loss? Or no, because it's still considered monetary value, the loss is based on what the guy spent.